Welcome back to the After Hours podcast. I'm your host, Francisco. Co-host today, I have Daniel March, and we are joined with Brandon Hunt, the founder of the Bourbon Charity. What's going on, man?
Hey, not much, man. What's happening?
Nothing much. Just got done with a long day of work, and now we're here, and hopefully tomorrow we'll see some good basketball games.
Oh, I cannot wait. March Madness is my favorite time of the year.
Yeah, I can imagine. I actually saw on your website just before we got on this podcast, you guys are doing, like a bourbon bracket?
Yeah, brackets for bourbon is what we're calling it. We're doing a kind of just an ESPN college hoops March Madness league and $25 a bracket, and looking to build a water project with Charity Water somewhere probably in Ethiopia. And we've already surpassed our goal of 12,000. I think we're up to 17 or 18,000 here. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I think we have over 500 people that have joined into the bracket. I think it's one of the biggest brackets on ESPN, my buddy was telling me. So pretty cool.
Jesus.
Really cool. Who do you got winning?
I got Michigan. I'm a Big Ten guy. The Wolverines, they're top to bottom. They play defense. It's just good chemistry. So that's who I got. How about you guys?
Let's go. First off, like I said before we started the podcast, I'm from Detroit, so big U of M guy. Glad to hear that you're supporting the troops. Obviously, that being said, I got to take Michigan too, right? Like, can't not.
Nah, I mean, I got Kansas. I mean, so me, I'm not super into college basketball unless it's University of Toledo, big Toledo Rockets fanatic. But outside of that, don't really pay too much attention. So, I mean, Kansas had a pretty good looking number, and I think they do pretty good. And
yeah.
They got a cool looking bird, so can't go wrong with that.
There you go.
Taking your team based on like the ferocity of the logo and the mascot, like
yeah,
I mean, can't go wrong with that.
I mean, you can. I've never made it past the 50 percentile, but here we are.
Hey, well, the good thing in our bracket, we got random kind of prop bets for worst brackets, kind of get some merch, and we'll have fun stuff. Even if your bracket gets busted, you can still still win some good merch and some good bourbon.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, let's just jump on into it. So you're the founder, and when was this created, and how did it come about?
So we're right out 2 years since I founded it. It started in beginning of 2019. Kind of just started. I was actually playing ping pong at my office and have a little bourbon bar at the office. And, at the time, my dad was going through prostate cancer, and it turned out to be a little more serious than just getting his prostate removed. He was kind of fighting for his life for about a month. Luckily that he's strong and he survived. But when I was going through that and I was playing ping pong, I was like, you know what? I really, had gotten to a point in my life where I had some extra time. And I was like, I really want to, give back and support, what my father's going through. And, not just write a check. I wanted to do something a little bit more impactful and see if there's other people like me that kind of like bourbon, like charity. And so I just donated my bourbon collection I had at the time and said, okay, let's set up a 501c3 nonprofit and see how much money we can raise with this bourbon and see if there's other people like me that enjoy some bourbon and some charity. And it turned out to be a big hit.
That is incredible. I mean, I don't think you really could have picked a better community. You said it like, who doesn't like bourbon, who doesn't like charity. And it seems like a really good cross section just because everybody we've come across either in this podcast or just going to like local bars, distilleries, breweries. It just seems like a really wholesome community that everyone has each other's backs and obviously supporting great causes.
It is. I mean, and that's a great thing. It's kind of our tagline. It's drink for a change. And a lot of these people is like, hey, you know what? If I'm going to drink some bourbon, I'm really into it. Why not drop, $10, $25 on potentially winning some Pappy or some really highly allocated bourbon and maybe, do a community kitchen for a food bank or support, Boys and Girls Club or any kind of children's hospitals that we do. So there's a lot of, like you said, a lot of cross marketing that our demographic really likes with the charity aspect tied into it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And what was that original bourbon collection you donated? What was the what was like for your stakes there?
It was the entire Pappy line, BTAC line, and then just like Wellers and Old Fitz and birthday bourbon and all the goodies.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it seems like you're experienced in this realm.
Yeah, I'm from Kentuckiana originally growing up. So, bourbon was in my backyard. So, I was always sneaking a little bit here and there growing up, and then coming back from college. And, my brother would always have a bottle of something new to try. So, yeah, it was just kind of always in the DNA growing up in the Southern Indiana, Kentuckiana area.
Right on. Where'd you go to school?
IU, Indiana University.
Indiana University. Yeah, our last guest that we just had on from Chicken Cock Whiskey, he actually went there as well. Their master distiller, Greg Snyder. So it must be a pretty great area.
Yeah, it's a good business school. We got Cuban. The Cubes is IU Business School alum, so got that going for us.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not just a one man operation at this point, right? You have a full team committed to the Bourbon Charity.
We don't have any full-time staff. We do have one part-time helper. So yeah, it's mostly volunteer based, but we have a lot of different volunteers in different areas. So it's not just me. It's quite a few different people, whether they specialize in doing the barrel picks that we do, or coordinating with some of the charities, or answering some of the communications on social media. So yeah, we've got a full team now after 2 years.
Yeah, man, it's a huge undertaking, and I believe in your first year, you guys raised over $500,000.
Yeah, I think something like that. We're up over $1 million now. I think we're at maybe 1.2 or so in the first 2 years. So it's been quite the growth that we've had, and we've really been lucky to find great people that want to help out, and been able to volunteer and make this thing grow.
Yeah, for sure. One of the questions that I was wondering is, like, where does like digital marketing and social media fall into like your growth? Like, has that been a big part of how you guys have expanded?
Totally. I mean, that's the one thing kind of about our organization. I mean, we never have had a actual, physical in-person event. So we kind of the COVID has really helped our growth, I guess, in a lot of ways. It's helped us because we always had that social media online presence. And, when I was starting it, I wanted to be very methodical about like how the money was being raised. And, a lot of people want to do charity events, but at the end of the day, after you pay the vendors and everyone else that has to get paid, there's just not much money going to charity. So that's what's really cool about kind of our model. It's all online. So like, we're up to 92% of the funds we collect are going to the organizations we support. We think we'll be at 100% a nonprofit public donation charity in less than probably 3 months now. So just the amount of money that's actually going to the grants that we're making to the nonprofits is just huge. And it's just a great format, and kind of that digital online marketing format is a lot, I think, where charities are trying to go, obviously. In this day and age, but they just weren't ready for it. So I think we probably kind of helped them see kind of these sweepstakes and these different bingo nights and these different creative things that we're doing online social media, that they can take a page out of the playbook on that.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, you touched on it with COVID, right? So like people have been having to get creative. They've been doing like whiskey tastings at home. They've been doing like cocktail like classes virtually, but it seems like you guys were just a little bit ahead of the curve. And obviously COVID's unfortunate, but you guys were ready for it. So glad to see that you guys had a positive impact there.
Yeah, and we felt it from the nonprofits that we're supporting. When reaching out to them is like, how's your fundraising going, guys? What can we do? What can we share? So we were just seeing it from a lot of from the perspective of the other nonprofits we were supporting. They were struggling, so it was refreshing to know that our audience was really helping in dire need time for a lot of these organizations.
So for anybody that is listening right now, and so where can they find you on social media? What's your website? How can they donate?
Sure. Bourboncharity.org. You can find us on social at Bourbon Charity. So Bourbon Hood, you can learn more about Bourbon Hood at bourbonhood.org. Bourbon Hood is our monthly donation membership base. And so they can donate anywhere from $10 to $100 a month. and they get perks for being a Hood member. You get automatic entries into all of the fundraisers that we do, the 5 main fundraisers that we do. They also get to participate in our barrel picks and have exclusive sweepstakes and merchandise that we give away to Hood members. So just a little extra perks of being in the Hood. And Bourbon Hood is meant to be the heartbeat of the charity. It is what funds the operational aspect of the charity, the accounting, the inventory of buying all the allocated whiskey, running all the sweepstakes, processing everything. So they pay, Bourbon Hood members pay for that. And so when we do all these awesome fundraisers, we can give, like I said, we're at 92% now, probably need about 150 more Bourbon Hood members, and we'll be 100% public donation charity. And that's just because of the Bourbon Hood members making it happen.
That is awesome. Have you ever considered doing like a Patreon or anything like that?
So it's basically like that. Essentially, that's what it is. But yeah, so that's essentially where we're going with it, and taking it is where we need that monthly revenue to support the operational aspects, so that when we do this stuff, we can donate, like I said, as much as possible to charity. And also Bourbon Hood members get a say in where the grants are going, the nonprofits that we're supporting. That's the cool thing about our nonprofit, is made up by the community. Like, I don't pick out these charities that we make the grants to. We do a voting process at the end of the year. People that have donated to the charity get the vote on our core charities. Those are the 8 charities that we're fundamentally supporting. And then the Bourbon Hood members get to vote for the rest of the charities that we support throughout the year. So it's another perk of saying, hey, you know what? I'm donating to this charity and I get a say of where the money's going, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hell yeah. Well, I mean, when you think of like nonprofit and like that 8% that you have to use to stay, in operation, I guess I'm trying to think of the right way to phrase this, but like obviously other charities are at like 80%, others are closer to 100. What are some of those funds that have to be taken out in order to keep the business alive?
Oh gosh, I think. I don't know what it will be for 2020 on the accounting, because we're going to have audited 990 financials, because we're raising so much money. It's just, there is so much. I guess one thing I didn't know starting this, and I've started a lot of businesses before, but a nonprofit's totally different. It's totally a lot more costly to operate and do business. And that's, obviously with all the regulation oversight, rightfully so. But I think our accounting for last year will probably be north of 30,000 just in accounting for CPAs and bookkeeping and all that. Yeah, I mean, we do, when we do Facebook ads and social media ads, we probably spend 20 grand on that. I think last year in Bourbon, we spent maybe 80,000. So there's significant costs, running websites, you still get transaction fees for processing payment. We still have legal compliance, and it's just, it adds up. Our operational budget we're probably looking at is probably for 2021, we estimated right around $170,000 to operate off of. But we also expect off that $170,000 operating budget to probably raise close to $1 million this year. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely, if we can, do 8 or 9 times cost, we're doing pretty darn good.
Yeah, for sure. That's incredible.
When it comes down to all the different like perks and everything for the Bourbon Hood members, is there like any bestseller or like any ones that like is your personal favorite?
Right now, it'll be so if you signed up for Bourbon Hood, you could donate $10 a month and you get access to our next fundraiser. So our next one is the Bourbon Derby. So you automatically will get ticket entries to winning. We'll have a lot of Blantons and OFC. It's sponsored by Woodford Reserve. I'm sure they'll throw in like one of those fancy mint julep cups or something like that. So being a Bourbon Hood member will get you access into all those fundraisers that we do. Also get you access in. We do drawing to see when we get a barrel, to do a barrel pick if you get to participate in doing that. We're working with different distilleries now to do kind of those private tastings, but do it just for Bourbon Hood members. We're actually, and I'll drop this on you guys since we haven't even announced it yet, but on the 23rd of this month, in 5 days will be our 1-year anniversary of setting up Bourbon Hood. So I'm reaching deep into my bourbon collection and picking out some pretty darn nice bottles, and it's just going to be a little surprise. And it's only Bourbon Hood members can get access to those bottles, and I'll just randomly give them away to Bourbon Hood members. So there's just little things like that are just nice little perks, just as a thank you for like I said, being the heartbeat of the charity and making this charity special.
For sure. I noticed your guys' merch on the website as well. I mean, it's awesome. It's pretty fucking sweet, to be honest. Everything from like the canter to the hats and the glasses. I assume that like all of the profit that you make, that gets donated as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dude, like who designed that, to be honest?
Yeah, so one of my boys out here, he's wicked talented graphic designer. Park Street Studios. If you guys ever need any graphic design work, you look him up on Instagram. But he's just wicked talented, and I have him do all our logos. And anytime we do a barrel pick, he's always got a real sweet image he can dial in for us, which is really cool. So, but yeah, the guy's wicked talented.
Yeah, man, no kidding. If we were just looking at her like, damn, like that's pretty dope. So
I was like, you know what? I need to buy this now.
Yeah. Well, you had previously mentioned the Bourbon Derby, which operates around the same time as the Kentucky Derby, and you guys operate around like 5 main celebratory events throughout the year. Do you want to give our listeners a little rundown on what each of those are?
Yeah, so we just got done with our first one of the year is our Valentine's Day Roses for Kids fundraiser. And so that was 5 different kids-based nonprofit organizations that we supported. I think we ended up raising right around $138,000 this past Valentine's Day for the kids, which was awesome. And then we follow that up with our Bourbon Derby, which, as you mentioned, is the same time as the Kentucky Derby, sponsored by Woodford Reserve. And that'll support 5 Kentucky-based charities. Since it's, all about Kentucky, we have, a Humane Society, we have Norton's Children's Hospital, we have Dare to Care Food Bank there. So a lot of great Kentucky-based organizations we're supporting with that. And then on Father's Day, we have our ultimate bourbon fundraiser. This is the one that kind of kicked off everything with my dad and when I started the organization. And we're going to have that sponsored this year by Bardstown Bourbon Company. And we're just going to go all out. I mean, that's our big one. I'm hoping we'll easily break $150,000 this year. That'll have all the Pappy, the B-Tag, all the high-end bourbon. And then we have our Labor Day fundraiser, and that's our military-based fundraiser. We'll be partnering up with Beam on that, supporting the troops. And we'll have Fisher House, the USO, Pat Tillman Foundation, some great organizations, military-based to support. And then we'll finish the year off with our Thanksgiving Day fundraiser. That's our Bourbon Giving. That's on Giving Tuesday. And we support food banks. So we'll support 5 different food bank organizations at that time of year. And so that'll be it for 2021. And then we'll do it all over again.
Sounds like a pretty busy year.
No breaks in between.
It actually worked out kind of nice because they're basically 2 months apart, spaced out throughout the year. So, and they're kind of holiday and it's celebratory and it's bourbon and it just kind of, it kind of works, It's just like, Father's Day, I'm thinking about, grilling out and having a bourbon and it just goes.
Oh, absolutely.
Is there like a similar structure to creating an event?
Well, so yeah, what we've been adding just started actually on this last fundraiser on Valentine's Day. We added gaming units into the fundraiser as prizes. So we had an Xbox, we had the PS5, we had an Oculus, we had old school Nintendo. So we had different gaming units in with all the really, we had OFC, we had, all the Pappy in that one too. So we were adding other elements into the fundraiser. The Bourbon Derby will be Yeti products. So we'll have the Yeti coolers and camping gear. And then Father's Day, we're going to add golf in. So we're getting these Titleist custom golf bags and just really cool different things that in each fundraiser, we're going to throw something else in there with bourbon to make it a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, man, that's awesome for sure. I mean, speaking of myself, I'm a big gamer, so like you caught me at the Xboxes, to be honest. So.
See, and that's what we're trying to like, obviously want to get more reach outside of just bourbon. And, there's and I heard that from some of my buddies. They're not bourbon. They just, support the charity because it's, it's me and whatnot. But they're like, you got me on this last one with the gaming systems. Like I can go for an Xbox or something. So yeah. It kind of works with people that, oh, why not? Why not get in this one? Because it's a little different.
Yeah, definitely. You name dropped some pretty big distilleries there. You got Beam, you got Woodford Reserves. How do you come up with these partnerships? How does that align?
Well, again, it's just a luck. Luckily, we have some great people within our organization. Our PR firm, Robo Marketing. Aaron he's just the man. I wish he would charge make the charity pay him a little bit more for his services, but he likes to do a lot of stuff pro bono and hook us up on great relationships where we can talk to some of these distilleries, share our story, share where we're going. And I think for the distilleries, it's very compelling to them because if this is their target audience, this is, if they want to partner with another nonprofit organization, let's say Fisher House to support the military. Well, they can do that with Fisher House, and Fisher House can market to their donor base, but they're not bourbon people like our people are bourbon people. So no, why not use our marketing, use our audience and support Fisher House through Bourbon Charity. We just want to be a platform where the most money can be raised for these organizations. And I think that's one thing compelling when we talk to these distilleries. It's like, hey, we have over now 12,000 people on our email donor list. These are people that love giving. They love bourbon. So it's just a great partnership relationships that we can form because it's the community that we're made up of.
Yeah, absolutely. And you did mention Aaron Brost. I mean, I've worked with him on a couple projects now. Dude's a rock star, right? Like he kills it. He's awesome.
He kills it. I'm just like Aaron, just he's like kind of my Gandalf at times. Like I'm like, need a little advice on, hey, what should we do and how should we do it? And he's always has great sound advice. So he's a great dude.
I've asked him on a couple occasions. I tried to get him on the podcast. He's more like a behind the scenes kind of guy, but man, like he's sweet. He's awesome.
For sure.
I want to get him on.
Do it. I'll poke him a little bit for you.
Yeah, please do.
Does he have a good Gandalf impression?
He doesn't. He should though.
That's fine.
You shall not.
Have you had any other mentors along the way that have helped guide the ship here a little bit?
A lot of different people. In Instagram, Charles Bourbon Man. I've had other people locally in Facebook groups. Will. There's so many people I could just name drop that no one would know who that is. But this organization, I think, as we talk a little bit more about it, and hopefully you can learn more behind the curtain, is it's made up of amazing group of people that have really helped carry the ship. And it's been just a wave that we've been able to ride just because of so many awesome people. Like you said, it's the community. You really couldn't pick a better niche of people that are so just down to earth, good people that want to do good and help other people. So it's, there's a lot of people that make it happen. And, hopefully people that are listening to this, if you're interested and want to drink for a change and volunteer or help out in any way, just definitely look us up. Go to bourboncharity.org and, give me a call, shoot me an email, and we'll see if there's, we're looking for a lot of different relationships. We're still looking to expand our reach and looking to collaborate in different ways. And It's kind of like with this March Madness thing we're doing right now. Like, it was just like, hey, you know what? College hoops is fun. Maybe we can turn this into like raising some money. So it's just like, if there's an idea that just seems like it might work and we can do a lot of good with it, let's throw it up against the wall and see if it sticks.
For sure. So the March Madness, that's like brackets for basketball teams, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because I was also thinking, what if you had like a bracket list of like bourbons,
Oh shoot! And
right?
people had to like vote on them.
We had to vote. We thought about doing that, but the whole coordinating was going to be a little bit more of a challenge. We thought about setting up, and doing something like that, but at the end of the day, it comes to like, this is a big undertaking just to like try to get 1,000 people into an ESPN bracket. So let's not bite off more than we can chew.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's a good point. When it comes to like all of these individual events, Dana touched on it a little bit earlier, but like how far in advance do you have to start prepping for the next one? You said there's like 2 months in between. Some are a little bit different, like when does the prep start? Is it a calendar year in advance?
Now that we're going on our second year, it's just like any business. It gets a little bit easier. There's some things that are a little bit more routine. We've done it before. We've got a calendar of events. We know what we're doing a little bit more now. So yeah, it gets a lot easier. Like I can put these sweepstakes together pretty fast. I mean, obviously we have to plan with inventory and we have to obviously make connections with our sponsors and plan that out. So we try to have everything pretty much planned out, January 1st for the entire year. We don't really start marketing for the fundraisers until like maybe 7 to 10 days beforehand. We just don't want to, we don't need to start marketing for the Bourbon Derby until it's go time. We don't want to, get lost in all the noise of starting to promote something that's, a month away or so.
Yeah, for sure. Also, I probably should have informed you on this, like, a little bit before, or maybe before we started recording. But this episode is going to be released April 20th. So anybody that's listening now, Bourbon Derby is literally like right around the corner. It's next week, I believe, when you're listening to this. So yes, now is the time to go check it out and make sure to donate.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure Woodford's going to throw in. Have you seen those mint julep cups that they have?
Yeah, they're awesome.
Dude, they're so awesome. They sent one for last year's Bourbon Derby. It was in September because of COVID, but it just, you never know, like holding $1,000 cup. It's like, oh, this actually does feel like $1,000 cup. So it's pretty cool. So they'll send over some goodies. We'll have an OFC, I think a 1994 OFC in there. There's some Pappy in there, a lot of good stuff, some Yeti product merch in there. So definitely donate, check it out, bourboncharity.org.
Absolutely. And in between events, you guys hold like virtual like bingo and other like small donation and raffles, right?
Yeah. So we've done like you said, bingo. That kind of when COVID first hit, we were like, well, let's support James Beard Foundation, which is a lot of local, independent, small mom and pop restaurants and stuff. So we did a couple different bingo events for them. I think we ended up raising one night just from bingo like $25,000, which was amazing. We had like I think one point like 800 or 900 people on a Zoom party playing bingo. So a lot of fun stuff that we do just to be a little different and get out there. And like I said, be in the moment, if something comes up, like COVID with supporting local small restaurants. So we had something come up where we did a fundraiser last minute for the Australian bushfires that happened. That was kind of, I think that was last January 2019 in January that we ended up doing something there when we saw that happen. So yeah, just if something happens, we want to be in the moment to be able to rally the troops and raise some money.
Well, what is one thing that you wish you had known before you started a nonprofit charity?
I knew it was going to cost more to run a nonprofit. I didn't know how much more it was going to cost to run a nonprofit. I think just the cost of being able to solicit donations in every state. Like, I didn't think we'd have to register in every state to solicit donations, but if you raise more than $50,000, you have to do that. So that's a process. So I think it's just all the legalities involved in it were a little bit more costly than I thought. I thought we could run at a smaller operational cost. But other than that, when I first started off with the charity, I was talking to a lawyer, and she laughed at me. She's like, "Why are you doing this as a nonprofit?" She's like, because I was telling her about my dad, and I have this bourbon. I want to, start a nonprofit to raise money for prostate cancer research. And she's like, you should start up a regular business and then just donate the profits. And she's like, you know what? People don't trust nonprofits. So she's like, you're going to have an uphill battle there. And she's like, it is a lot of work. And I'm like, more work than running a business? She's like, yes. and that's what I try to tell a lot of people, because I get a lot of people ask me, is like, hey, I'm thinking about doing a nonprofit, or I had this and that. It's like, okay, just so you know, you can do it, but there's no on and off switch. It's like when you start out a business, it's like, how do you shut it down once it started? Now it's going, you have all these costs. So you want to see it through, and starting a nonprofit's no different. If you're going to do it, you just need to see it through. And once you get those costs involved of doing it, you might as well, once you get into it, you might as well finish it, I guess, is what I'm getting at. Yeah,
definitely. And if you weren't operating the Bourbon Charity, what could you see yourself doing?
I mean, I own a lot of businesses. I'm an entrepreneur. So I my real job is real estate investing. I own a real estate mortgage company as well. I'm starting up another company with a social means to it. It's called Do Good Stickers. Kind of, we were talking about some of the merch, and my buddy Corey, he's designed some stickers. One of the things I love is doing the barrel picks and picking out and having Corey design the sticker. So I'm like, you know what? I have my kids, and they have all these stickers all over their, lunch boxes and their water bottles and stuff. I was like, you know what? I might as well create some stickers that have a social good to it and sell them on Amazon. So I got that going on. Just a lot of different things that I just like, I don't know, figuring things out and trying new things, I guess. So I don't think I'll stop here. It'll be fun to see, where, the charity goes from here, because I think now it's on 2 feet and it's really starting to run. And this organization can continue to grow, and just, I think this is just the beginning of it.
You mentioned that you're an entrepreneur at heart. What other businesses have you started, and how many?
How many have I failed at more than I've succeeded at? I'll tell you that much, and that's probably the key. I've started a video tour company back in the day when I got into real estate. I saw they had virtual tours, and this is dating myself, but it looked like you were in a fish bowl. And I'm like, there's got to be like a commercial for this and this is right when YouTube started. This is back in the day. And I was like, I'm going to figure out how to do these home tours of houses in like a commercial format. And so I started that, failed at that. Then I started flipping homes and got lucky at that. And then I started corporate wellness clinics maybe 3 years ago. And that I failed at. I don't know, just a lot of different companies. I just see what sticks, but what they say is you fail fast. So a lot of them, it's just like, let's see what happens. And if it's not meant to be, you just move on to something else. For sure.
Have you gained a lot of like kind of skills that kind of went into the Bourbon Charity?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I've learned a lot of skills. That's one thing about me. I hadn't really been on social media before I started the charity. I mean, I had a Facebook page or whatnot, but that was just for my wife to tag me in the kids' pictures and stuff like that. So I had to learn social media. I had to ask my buddy who had a bunch of followers in real estate. I was like, what do you do? He's like, you post a lot of content, and it's got to be entertaining, informative, or funny. He's like, you hit one of those three, then you're good. And he's like, post every single day, multiple times a day until you get an audience. I was like, okay, I can do that. And so I read a couple books and like, okay, this seems like I can do this. And you just kind of figure it out. But yeah, a lot of the skills, my last, before the charity, I had done corporate wellness clinics, on-site corporate wellness clinics, and I failed at it. But one thing that I learned from it is I had been sending out these really cool wellness packages to these corporate healthcare people, and they got such a great response because it was so well packaged that when I was starting to put together some of the merch and everything for the charity, I'm like, what really drew people in that business that failed, and some of the things I can pick apart that I learned from it is this merch and how it was packaged. So when I did the first fundraiser, I said, I'm going to set aside another 20 grand of my money to send out all these gifts to people that donate. And so I had all this nice Glencairns and this nice packaging set up. And so I really blasted out all this great merch that was great marketing for the charity, because people, had the Glencairn, they would see it, they would think about the charity. It was really well put together. And it's something that I failed at, a couple months before at a business, but I learned an aspect from it that I'm taking to another business to be successful, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a long process, but it seems like you're learning every step of the way. You're taking things here and there, just going with the groove. So, I mean,
that's life. I mean, shoot, if you're not trying and failing, then you're not learning and succeeding. It's people think you have to like hit home runs and have to be successful at everything. It's not. It's what you pick up from when you fail is that some of the biggest things. And in my career, and I've learned that a lot is you never take a failing, something that you failed at, as a failure at its face value. You take what you learn from it. So,
has there been any major learning experiences with Bourbon Charity
besides social media and not knowing social media and figuring that out? Not really. It's once it's now in a groove. Once I had to figure out, okay, because at first when I started, it's like, okay, I want to do this fundraiser for my dad. And I was pretty much going to be almost done with it. But it was kind of like minimum viable product when you're starting a business. It's like, okay, this seemed to work, and now let's take it, and it shouldn't let it die now because it has so much potential. And then we submitted for Buffalo Trace to donate their 6 millionth barrel bottle. One of the 400 as a nonprofit. You can register to try to get one of the bottles, and we end up getting one. And so it's like, you know what? Let's just see where this goes. And now, like I said, we're on year 2 and over $1 million raise. So, you just don't. I guess you just don't know when you start something where it could lead to, I guess.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know. That's not your fault.
I'm not trying to predict. You could have said, 2 weeks ago, March Madness, I wouldn't have anything that we're doing a fundraiser and raising 20 grand right now for charity water. But it's just like, it just happens, and we're just going to roll with it. We're going to learn from what we did this year. We're going to make it better next year.
And I didn't know that it was going to take us 40 minutes to ask you this question, but what is your favorite bourbon?
I get that question often, and I don't really. My favorite bourbon is usually whatever. Go in like waves. It's like, okay, like I'll be on Wild Turkey 101. I'll finish a bottle and I'll be like, man, that's so good. And then I'll go to like something else, and I don't really have a favorite. Whether it's Kentucky bourbon or Texas or Tennessee. I am more of like an old fashioned guy, I'd say. So if you're like, you can have, one bourbon. What are you going to have? Just give me an old fashioned. That's what I would love. What about you guys?
I know I had said this before, like Chicken Cock Whiskey. They're one of the last guests we had on. They sent us some samples, and
phenomenal.
Yeah, they're straight bourbon. I mean, oh my God. Like I would say it's the best bourbon I've had. So
good.
That's probably my favorite. Also a little bit of recency bias. I mean, given that we did record with them, like 2 weeks ago. So who knows what the next one will be, but for right now, that's gotta be it.
I'm on Frank with this one. Yeah. That's pretty good.
And so what is like the process when you guys are like, all right, we need this many barrels, we need like this many bottles for like a raffle or for an event. Who coordinates the logistics behind the moving and shipping of those products?
Unfortunately, that's me right now. I want to get out of that position at some point because it's very hard. As getting allocated, getting PAPI is like almost impossible.
Mm-hmm.
We have to go through licensed retailers, obviously, to get it, to make sure, we're getting PAPI and not something else. But, I have connections we usually use 3 different retailers that we buy bottles from. Unfortunately, we have to pay secondary pricing for it. I'm hoping that a trip here to Buffalo Trace Distillery soon and meeting with some of the people there and expressing kind of, what we're doing as a organization, the charity, where we're going with Bourbon Hood, how we're looking to become 100%, nonprofit, public donation nonprofit. And our challenges there is that, of the $170,000 of our budget, we're going to spend $80,000 to $90,000 on bourbon. So if we can get access from some of these distilleries to purchase at MSRP, or, just have better access to not having to pay 10x for bottles, that would help our fundraising out tremendously. And that's the biggest priority for the charity and me coming up of making those relationships with the distilleries to get that done. So yeah, that's kind of a loaded question. It's a pain point for the charity when I have to spend, $2,000 on a PAPI 15. I should be buying that, from a retailer that we're getting the hookup from for $150.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it'll come soon enough, I'm sure.
It will. And like I said, we're 2 months or 2 years into this, and with COVID, I haven't been able to go back there and meet these. It's an old boys industry. We need to shake hands. We need to break bread and share some bourbon and just talk, in which we haven't got the opportunity to do that. So I'm looking forward to getting out there, going home, going to meet a lot of people in some of these distilleries and just sharing our story and hoping that they can see the vision and the community and the great organization and the great community that we've built here.
Yeah, definitely. I guess that's the one thing that you can't really do digitally,
You can. That's the hard part. And I know, like I said, it's the most pressing thing for the charity right now, and it's going to happen. Believe me, I won't quit until I find a way to get us some of our bourbon, our allocated bourbon at a reasonable cost.
I was going to ask, like, what is your next plan for going towards meeting those distilleries? Are you going to head to Kentucky? Are you staying in Arizona, going to Indiana?
Yeah, I'm actually with there was a recent raffle, or it wasn't a raffle, it was an auction, excuse me, for a barrel of Buffalo Trace. And it was from the Franklin County Humane shelter there in Franklin County, Kentucky, where Buffalo Trace is. We've supported them with our Bourbon Derby fundraiser. So when they came out with a barrel of Buffalo Trace, I'm like, well, I need to go meet some people there. I'm going to buy this barrel no matter what, because I want to meet people there and I want to support the humane shelter and what they're doing. And it'll be a great end for us making the connections there. So I've bought the barrel. I just need to go do the experience and make the connection. So the plan is in place. I don't know when that's going to be. They're coordinating right now with Buffalo Trace on when that pick can happen. But hopefully we'll get that wrapped up. Sometime before the end of the summer here.
Are there any like logistical issues when it comes to shipping and handling of alcohol?
Oh, there's so much. This industry, I thought that real estate industry was messed up. And then I come over to this industry. I'm like, holy cow, the tier system. Yeah, it is. I think with COVID, actually, we're seeing some of those laws start to break down a little bit. I don't know if the genie's out of the bottle if we'll go back in on some of this stuff. But yeah, there's a lot that distilleries, they have to follow, retailers have to follow, we have to follow as a nonprofit. So there's a lot of logistics involved, especially doing the barrel picks, and then, working with distributors. When we do a lot of the barrel picks, we like doing them at the distillery only, but our Bourbon Hood members obviously would love to have them shipped to them. So having to find an online retailer and working with whatever distributor that is and splitting the barrels. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that has to get done a certain way per the industry. But it is what it is. And now the cool thing is, now that we've kind of been going through it, it's like, okay, you deal with different distributors, you deal with different distilleries, you kind of get to know how it works. So we're down that rabbit hole and we're starting to figure it out a little bit. But it is messy.
Oh yeah. Well, after a long night of a charitable givings and maybe some celebratory drinks, what's your hangover recipe the next day?
I got to get a burrito and any kind of Mexican beer would be my thing. Dos Equis or, Tecate or something, and carne asada burrito. That'll do the trick.
Sounds like a good time.
That might be my Saturday after March Madness. I don't know.
Fair enough.
I do love me some college hoops.
Yeah. I mean, who don't?
This brisket I'm getting ready to put on, I tell you what, it's that and some college hoops tomorrow. I'll be in paradise.
Oh yeah. All right. So you do drink beer. So you're not just strictly bourbon. What other drinks do you intake?
I don't discriminate really. It's wine, beer, mostly IPAs or Bud Heavies. I'll do gin and tonics if I'm doing any kind of other spirit besides bourbon. But yeah, I mean, obviously my go-to, is an old fashioned, like I said before. Just give me some good bitters, some nutmeg and clove in it, and give me a nice rye whiskey and big old ice cube and a orange peel and sunset and good day.
Oh yeah,
100%. And so, now let's just say, okay, Bourbon Charity is already taken. You had to come up with something else. What if you had to pick? What would be like your second option outside of bourbon?
I would definitely. I bought all the domains to beercharity.org, tequilacharity.org. So I don't know. I was like, you know what? If this takes off in this industry, who knows if someone would want to replicate it, or we could replicate it with Beer Charity or something like that. But I think anything that centers around focusing on a niche would be cool. And I think beer would be cool. I think a trip to Oktoberfest would be cool, or some of the different breweries that you could do and team up with. So I think that would probably be, if it wasn't bourbon, it would be Beer Charity.
A true entrepreneur right there, buying all the domains.
Hey, cover your bases. You got an intellectual property, and a lot of that stuff with the charity is like, I got a trademark Bourbon Hood, I got a trademark Bourbon Charity. A lot of stuff that you need to do it, but you never know. You got to make sure you protect your assets.
Oh yeah. That's why you're a seasoned veteran.
Done it before. I just you just don't know. So yeah. Cross the T's, dot the I's. So
what would you say, or I guess where would be the best place to get one of these old fashions you're making my mouth water with right now?
So I'm in Arizona. I don't know if you guys have been out here before, but if you do come out here, northern Arizona, there's a lake. It's called Lake Powell. It's my happy place. It is gorgeous. It is, I don't know, just the water's so clean and clear, and the red rock. It's just gorgeous. So if I could have an old fashioned anywhere, it would be Lake Powell with my old man, for sure.
Right on. Yeah, I actually got two buddies that actually just moved out to Arizona, so I'll be coming out there pretty soon. And then one of our business partners, he also has a condo down there, so it's in my cards for sure. I'll be heading down there definitely within the next year.
Oh, definitely. If you head down and you're in the Southeast Valley, come down to the headquarters of the charity. We've got a nice setup, and would love to show you around and share a dram together.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, could not think of a better time.
Oh, for sure. And hopefully you got, ping pong game or shuffleboard or let's see what we got. We got a pool table there. So hopefully there's something you can give me a run for my money on game wise.
Oh yeah, our team's got some pretty competitive ping pong players.
Ooh, ping pong's my jam.
Ping pong, yeah. I would say I'm pretty good. So like, I don't know how good you are, but I'm always down to play.
I mean, I would say I probably play daily.
Okay, all right.
You might beat us.
Yeah.
you have a training robot machine?
Not yet.
Yeah, I'm a little crazy.
No, I grew up like the house that I grew up in. We always had a ping pong table. So for the first 16 years of my life, I played every day for hours on end. So I'm a little rusty, but I think I'll give you a run for your money.
Awesome. We'll do it when you're out here for sure.
Absolutely. What would you say is the best? What's the best hometown restaurant?
Oh, my little podunk town of Salem, Indiana, definitely would be Dinner Bell. So if you're ever going through Salem, Indiana, and you get right off the square, we'll call it downtown, I guess. There's a little restaurant called Dinner Bell, and they make these little slider burgers. And like, we'll seriously go and order like 30 of them, and then we'll eat them, and then we'll have them late night. And then you talk about what's your hangover food the next morning. These burgers are perfect. So that's little sliders from Dinner Bell.
Oh yeah, that sounds phenomenal.
If you're having them 3 meals in a row, they gotta be good.
Oh, they're so good.
Got your own like crave case, pretty much, getting 30 of them.
Oh yeah, for sure. And they're not like White Castle. I don't know. It's just like, how they do smash burgers. I mean, they're just, I don't know. You just crush them though. It's like 2 bites and it's gone.
I was gonna ask what the most thrill-seeking thing you've done, but that pretty much, you can't top that.
Thrill-seeking thing, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I've done. I like action, so I've done the skydiving and all that, and bungee jumping and all that. I think the most extreme thing I did was probably the rim to rim to rim at the Grand Canyon, and under 24 hours. So you hike, you start at the south rim, you go all the way to the north rim, then you turn back, you go all the way back to the south rim. It is like, it's pretty intense.
How dry is it out there?
It's pretty dry, but I was not very intelligent when I did it. And I did it over Thanksgiving and didn't realize the difference in temperature on the north rim and the south rim. So it was like over a foot of snow on the north rim when I did it. And of course it was completely shut down because it was freezing. And of course didn't have enough gear, but yeah, that was probably the most thrill-seeking thing I've done, or at least the most strenuous from a physical standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, you said you did skydiving and bungee, so like, yeah, you got some to choose from for sure.
Oh, for sure, yeah. I'm climbing trees as a kid type person.
Okay, yeah. So you're definitely the opposite of me. You're climbing trees, being outside, and enjoying the weather.
Yeah, and you're gaming.
Yeah, gaming. Yeah, or just not climbing trees outside. Playing with a Ouija board. I don't know, just anything that's probably inside, preferably with AC. That sounds about
right. Speaking of Ouija boards, have you had any ghost stories that any ghosts that you've encountered over the past years?
Dang, ghost. I've never encountered a ghost. I would say I encountered my angel. I guess my guardian angel. When I was a kid, I was on a quad, and my cousin was in town, and he had a exchange student staying with them from France and didn't speak hardly any English. I was like, oh, get on this quad and, just drive. And just was flying down this hill, didn't see a stop sign, and just like went straight off this embankment that was a creek bed. And for some reason, like, I knew we were going off this embankment and straight into this creek bed. And for some reason, like, went dark, and we ended up missing the creek bed, but it still ran straight into a tree and really messed us up. But like, if we had went off that creek, off that bridge into the creek bed, we would have probably wouldn't have made it. So that was probably my only experience with something that was like, this is weird. It wasn't meant to happen. Someone's watching over me. There's a guardian angel or ghost or whatever. The good Lord's taking care of me on this one. Yeah. What about you guys?
I mean, Dan, I think you have more than I do.
I got a few. Okay, I'll say one that I don't think I've said on the podcast yet. So my family is originally from West Virginia. Well, my father's side is. And so we went out camping out in the area, and there's this really cool bike path where you can go into these tunnels where it's just a straight tunnel. They can go anywhere from 0.2 of a mile to over half a mile. So, you could see from end to end, but the thing is when you're in the middle of it, it's just this really weird illusion where you know that you're going forward, but it doesn't feel like you're going anywhere because all you can see is the exit of the tunnel. Super creepy. So we rented out these bikes, and the bike shop owner told us that one of the tunnels were haunted, and we were like, oh, that's just fascinating. That's great. So we we go through the tunnels. We went through either 2 or 3 of them, and everything was fine. It was really cool. And then on our way back through the final tunnel, which was also the longest tunnel, my dad tells my brother, hey, Tommy, what are the odds that you go to the end of the tunnel and all the way back, like without your bike, and just run through and run back? He's like, oh, it's $10. So, sure enough, he went almost all the way through. He went about halfway through, and then you just hear him yelling, running, and just yelling at the top of his lungs, running back. And when he comes back, he's like, yeah, I definitely saw a woman in like a white gown that was glowing. She looked right at me, and it was really creepy. And so when we get back to the bike shop, because we initially thought that it was like the 3rd or 4th tunnel that was haunted. And we told the bike owner what happened, about how my brother saw this like figure that was in like a gown and everything. And so he went on to tell us a story about how apparently the story went that in that first tunnel, apparently a woman that was going to get married got ran over by a train that was like right above that tunnel. So that happened. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. No thanks. I don't do scary movies. Unlike my brother, we like can't even watch Jurassic Park. Like that's too scary. So I don't do ghosts or scary stuff like that. I'd be out of there.
All right, so playing with a Ouija board is not in your wheelhouse?
No, not in my wheelhouse.
I've had like small like instances. The last house that I lived in after graduating college, it was like this house that was built like early 1900s. Like the houses like back behind engineering, Dan. Yeah. So like these houses are like getting close to 100 years old. Like just weird shit would happen. Just medicine cabinet would be open. Like you'd come home and like the air vents, like I'm talking like the old school like metal air vents that were along the ground. Those would be like removed from the wall like 2 or 3 feet. Lights would go on and off like at their own will, and like drawers being opened. Like I said, medicine cabinet. So just really weird, like just small stuff that would happen all the time. But nothing like crazy like Dan. So yeah, hopefully you got some goosebumps now.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, bringing it back to the Bourbon Charity now. Like I said, this podcast episode is going to release a couple days before the Kentucky Derby. Well, I guess the Bourbon Derby. What are your plans for this event?
Raise a lot of money. I think that's the goal. Is let's see, in September, I think we raised a little over $100,000. So, can we top what we did last time? And, I'm just hoping for another great showing. I'm hoping that we can support a lot of great organizations in Kentucky. And I think it'll be fun. Who doesn't love the Derby? I mean, I actually today in the mail just got my Derby hat today. My wife's like, you already got your Derby hat? I'm like, you can't plan soon enough for them.
Have you been to Kentucky Derby before?
I have.
Man, that is one thing that's like on my family's like bucket list, I guess. Like my parents just have just never gone, but they really want to. So yeah, I definitely want to make it out there pretty soon. And like you said, it's like one of those things where like even if you're not in like the equestrian game, like everybody still tunes in. Like who doesn't have a drink and watch some horses run? Right?
Oh yeah. It's super fun. I've always been in the infield. I haven't put on the nice clothes. Yeah. But it's just a great experience. Just the vibe of that place is just electric, and it's a lot of fun. Who doesn't love a mint julep too?
Yeah. Well, what are your day-to-day responsibilities looking like for the next month? Getting into preparation mode here.
Really, it's just teeing up the since we're also doing some Yeti products. Just submitting like the nonprofit paperwork to get to work with Yeti, stuff like that, of getting some of that supplies. And we'll, probably already start planning ahead really for the Father's Day, because there's a lot of stuff that's already been done for the Bourbon Derby coming up. We've got all the bourbon already. So it's just last minute details, finishing up with this March Madness fundraiser that we're doing, getting that out, and just again getting the schedule planned out where we can just keep these fundraisers going and keep collaborating with great distilleries and great other organizations that want to support us.
Awesome, yeah. And after hours, we'll be donating a little bit here and there, and we'll be watching closely. We're going to try and publicize this as much as possible. So make sure everybody go check it out, donate, join the Bourbon Hood too, and yeah. I mean, thank you so much for being a guest on our show today. And if there's any other points that we've missed, I mean, bring them up now, please.
So, how long have you guys been doing this podcast?
I was going to say 420. April 20th of 2020 was the first episode that released. We had started in late 2019, like November, October time, I think.
Just like build up some episodes.
Yeah, so we had like 7 or 8 in the backlog when we first, because we were going to do it weekly, right? So we wanted to make sure we had extras.
Sure.
Yeah, so officially, I would say like just over a year.
That's awesome. So what's it like having a podcast? Is it? I feel like it's probably a pretty competitive industry and market to be in with a lot of people.
Yeah, it's definitely a pretty saturated industry. But the thing is, like, if you could find that niche, then you're set. It's definitely a good time. The best part about it all is you get to meet really great people and just hear their stories. So it's definitely a really good time.
Yeah, and like Dan said, like the niche that we found, I mean, just a great one. Like from people that we've interviewed like in person, like at bars and restaurants, and then people that we've met like all across from like New Zealand, right?
Wow.
The food and beverage industry as a whole is just like really like wholesome, always trying to help, pushing through connections like where they can. So very fortunate that we found like this group of people that we've worked closely with, and yeah, I'd say just like the community as a whole has been probably my favorite experience or your favorite part of this.
Yeah, I would think you get into meeting some pretty cool people, like you said, and some pretty cool stories. And, I'm sure everyone has a pretty good bourbon story too. So I'm sure you get to hear some pretty cool stuff.
Oh yeah, all the time. So that's pretty sweet. Luckily we have like a pretty well-rounded team. Dan, I mean, you probably bear most of the responsibility when it comes to the audio side of this, right?
All the post-production stuff. Yeah. Make everything sound pretty.
Yep. And then also you do our social media, and well, you have an extensive background like in the Adobe Creative Suite. So when it comes to making like any visuals or graphics, I mean, Dan kills it. So we got a pretty great team.
Nice. And what do you guys do? What's your regular jobs?
Well, Dan and I and 5 of our other buddies, we started a software development company here in Toledo, Ohio, Winhouse Software. So we've been operating now, close to like 24 months now. So just under like 2 years. So anything from, I mean, mobile apps to desktop apps, websites, APIs. I mean, we also do like a lot of design work as well, branding, media kits. So that's where our skill set lies, is in software. Yeah, and that's our day job. And then luckily we also have a great team that can, support the podcast as well. So this is something that we do on the side.
Something to do after hours.
After hours.
No, that's really cool. That's cool. And it seems like there is some overlap in what you do in software, at least somewhat in the podcast.
Yeah. So we got a pretty great team, and Toledo, Ohio is actually, like, when you think of like Ohio, you probably think of like Cincinnati, Columbus, and like Cleveland, right? The three big cities. But Toledo's on the rise right now, and
second most affordable city in the nation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that article just got published a couple of days ago. Yeah. So Toledo's on the up right now, and meeting a lot of great people in the software space and in the food and beverage industry. So we're really happy to be here, and it'll blow up. I guarantee you, in the next 5 years, Toledo will be a pretty like mainstream city that people talk about.
Yeah, I feel like Toledo, I guess I would probably be the next city after the cities you mentioned that I might think of. Mm-hmm. Cincinnati, Dayton, Columbus, Cleveland. Yeah.
Yep. And then we're only 45 minutes south of Detroit, or like an hour south of Detroit. So whenever there's a chance for us to get involved in different organizations, incubators, different like networks, it actually works out really, really well. We are in a couple different incubators and accelerators for budding entrepreneurs. So like TechDown Detroit, Jumpstart Toledo, Cleveland as well. So we're really starting to pave our path here, and entrepreneurs at heart. So it's really what it is.
That's the only way to be, man. I tell you what, working for the man ain't no way to live. I was talking to a buddy. He's like, what are you doing? Something. He's taking a trip. I was like, oh, what are you doing the rest of the time? He's like, I got to work. He's like, I only get 20 days off a year. I was like, what? Really?
Yeah. That's definitely the best part. I mean, you can work with your friends. It's flexible. Then also too, it just makes the entire experience just more enjoyable. Obviously, like having crucial conversations at work. It's a lot easier to communicate your thoughts with the people that like you trust and that you're also like able to be friends with outside of work. Yeah,
no, that's awesome. I tried a software company back in the day. Didn't end up working out really, but we took the software in-house, and that's what we still use today. So it's, again, one of those things that failed. We tried to create, like, what Zillow is?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so take the MLS data and tax data, we married it together, and we were trying to come up with what the house could be worth to its utmost potential to fix and flip it. So we didn't care what the average price was. We wanted to know what the maximum price you could get for a house was. So we wrote code to do all that stuff, and we had it in like 10 different markets, and like, Texas and Florida, and for all these hedge funds that were buying up real estate back in the day, and barely missed the boat, but we took it in-house, and we use the software today to find all our deals. But it's a fun industry, especially when you can just outgrind someone with a little. It's probably harder now with some of the scrapers and what people have nowadays, but back in the day, it was a lot easier.
Yeah, it's well, again, like I said, like Toledo being like not one of those like mainstream cities, like we don't really have an issue getting work in the area, and now we're getting to the point where we're pretty much nationwide as well. So it is a little bit harder, but again, just knowing your niche and being able to provide your services to the best of your ability.
Yeah, that's awesome. Definitely have to check out your guys' service. If I know if we ever, never know, I could be in need, and I don't even know it on certain things, but I'll definitely get your information. And
for sure.
I'm always doing something that I have a need for something.
I mean, that's the great part about software is you can always be innovative, and there's really no limits to that. So yeah, we got your back. Don't worry.
All right. Yeah, sounds good, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for being on the show. Brandon Hunt, founder of the Bourbon Charity. Appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you guys, and look forward to continuing to have this relationship and talk some more after we raise some more money.
All right, After Hours Nation, we hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to stay updated, you can check out our site at afterhourscast.com. Don't forget to tune in next Tuesday morning for our next episode. After Hours Nation, stay thirsty, my friends.